Second. All right, everybody. Today is Saturday, May 30th. Thank you guys for all tuning in. This is First Times. This is episode number 5, and this is all thanks to you guys for joining in. I have tons of views. I love that you guys are watching. Tonight, we have a special guest, my very first guest, my first time having someone on the show. This is food for thought. The special guest is Marvin Talsky, DC chiropractor. Now, I want to welcome him, share some information about him. I actually posted it on the side so you guys can follow with me. He graduated from Palmer College of Chiropractic in Davenport, Iowa in 1963. That's right, 1963. In continuous clinical practice since 1965. He's designed and set up 4 different chiropractic offices. He's the co-founder and developer of Torque Release Technique in 1995. Founder and developer of Talsky Tonal Chiropractic in 2001, which there is a link on the bottom of this post, which you guys can go and look for yourselves. Also, he's been teaching postgraduate technique applications, seminars, and workshops yearly since 1995. That's right, 25 years of education. He goes all over the country, sometimes out of country. He teaches all younger group of students who share his same type of style. Without further ado, here's Marvin Talsky. I have him on the line. How you doing, Papa Marv?
I'm doing to be on your program, your first guest. This is the first time for you.
Yes.
First time for me on your program.
I love it. This is going to be great. So, I introduced you, just some key points, just so people kind of understand who you are. Can you please just, share really your story, share us exactly, what you do and, what your life's work is?
Sure. When I graduated high school, I had no idea, like many people who graduated high school, I had no idea what I was going to do. So I started college in Chicago, and out of default, I went into business. I went into major in business, but of course, default, I went into business. I went into major in business, but of course, your first year in college, you're not really majoring in that much. And all I knew is I would probably go into business because I didn't know what else to do. And I knew I did not want to be an accountant. So I was going to go in some other aspect of business.
That's interesting. And
I never had any desire to go in the healing arts. My father, your great-grandfather, was a salesman at a time when a salesman did more than just sell. And like so many people, they thought chiropractic was just for back weaknesses. And one day after I was driving, his back went out and he actually couldn't drive. So I drove him to this chiropractor. And this time it was a recent graduate from the Palmer College of Chiropractic, and he was interested in sharing about chiropractic, not just adjusting people, but sharing about him, educating.
Now, what you mean by educating and everything? What do you mean that it wasn't like regular chiropractic? What do you?
I mean, like the average chiropractor in Chicago. You come in and you tell them why you're there, and they adjust you, and you go away. And you come back, till you feel better. And then the general trend was come back when you need me. But people base need on symptoms, on pain. So the average chiropractor let it be that at that time. And this particular chiropractor was he went into chiropractic a little bit later in his life. Um, uh, and he was very excited about what chiropractic really was. So he shared that with my father first, and then uh, he had seen me, so he asked my father about me, and he said, "Well, I'd like to talk to both of you about him considering chiropractic as a career." So we got I was in my first year of college, and so he talked to us, and it was kind of intriguing to me. It was something I never heard about, and I'll get to why. But to finish this story, he and I found it very interesting. So he encouraged my father and I to go visit the Palmer College of Chiropractic in Davenport, Iowa, which was about 180 miles away.
Wow.
4-hour drive, and across the state of Illinois. And I was so impressed with what I saw and how different it was from anything I knew about, that I said, I really want to go into this. So I actually registered for, so this was early in 1960, and I actually, early spring, and I registered to start after I finished my term, and so I started my studies, and I went through. I actually ended up getting married to your great grandmother after my first term at Palmer College of Chiropractic.
Wow.
And then yes.
Well, my question for you is, now, since I've been following the story, is you met somebody that introduced this type of teaching to you, and you took a leap of faith and decided to journey 180 miles from your home to the Palmer College of Chiropractic. What transitioned that thought? What made you go and do that? Was it because it was interesting to you, or was it because it felt right?
Both. Major decisions in my life have been made primarily because I've been spiritually moved to make the move.
Wow.
Like you were spiritually moved. You may not call it spiritual, but moved to start this first times program that was totally foreign and new to you, and you had no training for. You just moved into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I was moved by by the uniqueness of chiropractic, and most people have no idea what the uniqueness of chiropractic is.
They don't. I'm going to be honest with you, Papa Marv. Anytime the term chiropractor pops in my head, I just think of my back being cracked, like really, really cracked, or some type of manipulation. I really don't understand the manipulation behind it. There's like some type of massage, maybe like associated with the medical side, but you don't do any of that. And it's very interesting because only a very, very small group of people in your field do what you're currently doing. And, I'm sure everyone on the show right now, including myself, kind of want to know what this tonal chiropractic is. Can you shed some light on us?
Yes. I'll try to cut to the chase. So tonal chiropractic is a newer model of the application of chiropractic. But tonal chiropractic, first and foremost, is chiropractic. It's not something different. The application is different, not the uniqueness. So, what attracted me originally about chiropractic was the nervous system. So, a lot of people think of chiropractic associated with back and symptoms in the back. Well, the back is where the spine is, and that houses the central part of the nervous system. So we call the central nervous system is the brain and spinal cord, and we call the part that's in the cranium in your head the brain, and the part that is housed in the movable bony column we call the spine, or the spinal cord.
Yes.
So the spinal cord is in the spine. It's in the vertebral column. It's supported and suspended within the vertebral column. So, so the nervous system. And here's the important part. Of course, I didn't know it this way then, but here's the important part. The nervous system is that system in the body responsible for conveying the intelligence of life. Wow. And we actually experience our entire physical life through our nervous system. Our entire physical life is experienced through the nervous system.
You know, that's really interesting.
So the nervous system is much more than the brain and spinal cord, but the brain and spinal cord is called the central nervous system, and it's you might say it's somewhat analogous. It's far more than, but it's somewhat analogous to the central processing unit of a computer. So everything has to come from and go back to the central processing unit. So most people understand the nervous system as that system which perceives and monitors everything going on in your body and outside to you. And then it controls appropriate responses for what it's monitoring, to keep your body functioning and doing what you are intending to do physically. So does that make sense?
Oh, it makes total sense. You know, what I'm kind of like getting from you is our nervous system is just as important as our brain. And a lot of us don't even realize how important our nervous system is, because how our entire physical reality, how it's even experienced is through that. And it's then translated into our brain for us to understand. So it's kind of interesting. What's that?
It's important that you understand the brain is part of the nervous system. It's not separate from it.
Gotcha.
It's essential. The brain is part of the nervous system. So it's the central part of the nervous system. And as far as the spinal cord is concerned, the spinal cord is literally an extension of the brain going down the bony canal.
You're right. It has like that's what our spine is protecting, is that cord from the stem of the brain, correct?
Yes. So the word anatomy means to break apart for the purposes of study. So because the spinal cord is that part of the brain which is outside the cranium, we call it, the anatomists called it a separate structure. But there's no line of demarcation. There's There's nothing really separating the continuity of the brainstem from the spinal cord. We just arbitrarily say the brainstem is that part that's above, that's in the cranium, and the spinal cord is that part which is outside the cranium. So the brain just extends down through the bony canal, and more that's been discovered about the functions in the spinal cord are understood to be, or what we call brain function, has been discovered to occur also in the spinal cord.
That's so interesting. It really is so interesting. You never, there's a lot of education out there. You hear a lot of TED Talks, always train your mind, train all of that, but no one ever talks about, what you do, the nervous system, stimulating the nervous system, making sure you're aligned correctly, making sure the energy is being passed through your body correctly without any interferences. It's very interesting work, and my question for you is there some type of Eastern thought associated with the type of work you're doing?
It does not come from Eastern thought, but Eastern thought is most related to the understanding of the application of chiropractic. So what I mean by that is Eastern thought depends more on, there's a greater respect and dependency on the potential of the body.
Gotcha.
And where, unfortunately, Western thought has moved in the direction of thinking of the body as a machine.
Yeah, I know, it's unfortunate.
And if something is, if a symptom occurs, then the intent of medicine is to control or cover up the symptom so you don't feel it. Medicine shines with what we call acute and emergency medicine. Acute and emergency medicine means medical care for injuries, accidents, or severe fevers, infectious disorders. So that's acute and emergency. So there's no substitute for medicine. But some of the greatest contributions of medicine are not really from medicine. They're from bioelectrical diagnostic equipment and bioelectric approaches. That's what's accomplished so much in saving lives and in advanced diagnosis. So medicine shines for acute and emergency situations. If you got a bleeding, if you're bleeding, if you have difficulty breathing, you want to get that taken care of as quick as possible. And you want to go to a trusted doctor, or nowadays they don't want emergency. They say, if this is an emergency, you call your doctor. If this is an emergency, go to the emergency room or call 911. Emergency room doctors are really the epitome of medicine, the epitome of medical care. But when it comes to what the primary ailments are, the primary departures from health are today, it's chronic. Wow. It's long-term. And more, it's even autoimmune. Infections are still an issue, as we know from the COVID-19 exaggeration. But you have to rely on a body that's working better, where it's adaptability is up to par and its immunity is working. Um, what's been discovered is that the immune system is really part of the nervous system.
Interesting. I've never heard that before.
So what is the immune system?
Yeah,
It's
complex.
It's those parts of the body that monitor things going on in the fluids of the body. The blood, the lymph, the cerebrospinal fluid, the interstitial fluid in between the cells. When I went to school, we didn't understand how the fluids how the blood cells, the white blood cells, the lymphocytes, the red blood. We didn't understand how those things were controlled by the nervous system. But then in 1980, the neuropeptide or neurotransmitters were discovered. And a neuropeptide, those terms are interchangeable, by the way. Neuropeptide, neurotransmitter. The neuropeptide means a complex protein molecule that carries information through the fluids of the body. The term neurotransmitter conveys more of its function. So the function of neuropeptides is to carry information to and from the central nervous system.
Wow.
That's the function. A lot of people don't realize that 95% of all hormones, endocrines, hormones, and immune cells are neuropeptides.
Are you serious?
Are neurotransmitters carrying information to and from the central nervous system. And
Wow.
it is the response. It is the accurate perception that allows appropriate response for the immune system to be functioning in the way it's supposed to. If your nervous system is impaired, especially with chiropractic problems, and now we get to that. What is a chiropractic problem?
Yeah, what is a chiropractic problem?
A chiropractic problem is a functional problem in the spinal cord. And my wife, Debbie, here, who has benefited greatly from chiropractic, thinks she needs to coach me. In pantomime, no less. My gift in life, Debbie. So the chiropractic problem is when the nervous system gets overwhelmed from an imbalance between incoming stress, physical, chemical, or emotional stress, and the body's ability to handle the current demand of physical, chemical, and emotional stress. If it gets overwhelmed, it like gets stuck in a software loop. I like to say it's somewhat like a circuit breaker. You know what a circuit breaker is? That's what. That's a simple metaphor for when the electrical energy over a circuit gets too great and starts producing heat. It causes the circuit breaker to go off to cut the flow because it's getting dangerous to causing a fire.
Wow.
That's what a circuit breaker is for. You know what circuit breakers are, right?
Of course, they're right in my garage.
Yeah. Yes. So there's safety mechanisms.
Correct. Yeah.
That keep fires from starting, from overuse or over intense use of beyond the current capability of that circuit.
Now,
Um,
I got a question, and not to interrupt you anyway, because the information you're giving is, believe it, I'm dumbfounded. I've never even thought about this stuff before, and it's blowing me
so this is
away.
the first time.
This
This
is
is the
this
first
is this
time.
is a first time on first times. Let me tell you, it's highly educational. You know, my whole thing about, like, this whole nervous system, the immune system, I really feel operates within a certain frequency range. I don't know if I'm right about that, but I really feel like the human body has a certain type of frequency that it emits, and I believe our nervous system or our immune system responds to that. And I believe with all the technology that we have in today's society, these 5G towers that go up, and just what goes on, anything can impact our immune system, whether it's stress, whether it's fear, whether it's anxiety, whether it's any type of feeling, and can change the frequency. And believe it or not, this is what I believe. It may be true, but everything, but like how you treat your body, the intention, and keeping yourself stress-free as much possible as stress-free, try to remove anxiety out of your life. Does your central nervous system and your immune system respond to those positive emotions and negative emotions?
Absolutely. But so I want to bring you back that the brain is part of the nervous system, the central part,
Okay.
and the immune system is part of the nervous system. It's not the nervous system and the immune system. It's the immune system is that part of the nervous system which perceives what's going on in the fluids of the body and responds appropriately through cellular response, like the white blood cells, the macrophages, the T cells. All the different parts of the nervous system do what they're supposed to do when they're called upon by the nervous system. So remember, it is the function of the nervous system to perceive what's going on in the body and respond appropriately. It's the function of the nervous system to perceive what's going on in the environment around you, what environmental demands are on you,
Wow.
and to control appropriate responses for what's being perceived.
That is some deep knowledge, Papa Marv. I mean, to really go that far into dissecting that and understanding that is
believe it or not, it's basic. That's basic knowledge. Believe it or not.
Wow.
And so listen to this part. Your nervous system does not respond to objective reality, what's happening around you. Your nervous system responds to your perception of what's happening.
Love that.
So it doesn't respond to what's actually happening. It responds to your perception of what's happening.
That's beautiful.
So you're healthy to the degree that your perception is accurate, so that your response can be appropriate. So that brings us back to what the chiropractic problem causes in the body. What the chiropractic problem causes in the body is stuck patterns of response. So the number one cause of chiropractic problems today, back even in the 60s when I was learning, we talked about overwhelming force, like a fall, a blow, an automobile accident. And then more and more and more, there was chemical causes caused by our denaturing of the environment. The toxicity that we're creating in the environment and in our air, our water, and what we're doing to our commercial crops and foods. It's a stretch to call them foods nowadays.
Oh, I know. I will not buy Monsanto products at all. I will not buy produce at Walmart, anywhere. Not even the trusted grocery store, like such as Publix, or I don't know what you guys have in Chicago, but it's really scary because you actually have to take that fruit and vegetables and then use vinegar to remove the film that is on those vegetables. And not only that, the amount of GMOs, it's just not, it's not natural. You know, my biggest thing is you must buy your produce from a reliable source, whether it's organic or whether it's your local fresh market where they just got the produce. It's extremely important that you do that, because if you're not doing that, you're not getting any true nutrients in your body, which then with your type of work translates into people who need adjustments because their energy is off, their nervous system is off, they're not getting the right nutrients and balances in their body from the vegetables that are readily available.
Right. That's correct. But the number one cause of chiropractic problems in the last generation, from about the 80s, it's been gradually increasing. There's no sharp line of demarcation, but more and more it became stress. And stress, when I say stress, I'm talking about emotional stress. The way we're perceiving our environment, the unnatural environment we've created for ourselves, the way we're perceiving it. So, so we're perceiving everyday stresses, time stresses of getting to work on time, relational stresses between your employer and employee, between customers and representatives of companies, relational problems between significant other spouses, marriage partners, or just partners in life, business partners. Because of the increasing time demands, where you have to do one thing, then you have to do another. You have to. Right now, the stresses of travel and time are somewhat lessened because a lot of people are working from home.
Yep.
But what about this financial stresses? Just without this unprecedented COVID shut-in, everyday financial stresses, and now added to that, how many people? 38 million people out of work.
I know
that lost jobs because of COVID-19,
Yep.
and the ones that haven't lost it, they've lost income.
And not only that, Papa Marv, another thing is, a lot of people are always on the go, 12 hours a day. So a lot of people have kids. A lot of people get trapped in the cycle of the day-to-day thing. And now...
Tell me about that.
Yeah, and now you get into this COVID where now you're home and you're actually with maybe your loved ones and your kids. You're getting to know your kids more. You're getting to know your wife more, or your loved one. And that's where
it's creating stress of being on each other's nerves.
That's what I was getting to. It's a new type of stress that people have never felt before. Suicides
have gone way up.
That's crazy, man. Oh my God.
This unprecedented lockdown for something where 99% of the people who have gotten COVID-19 have recovered. Over 99% have recovered.
I know, it's unbelievable.
Less than 1% have died. And of the people that have died, almost all of them have had comorbidities. They were already dying from something else.
You're so right. Look at Italy. They released about a month ago, not even 3 weeks ago, and they stated that over 99% of the cases that were quote unquote coronavirus related, those patients had 4 or more pre-existing conditions. I'm talking about the people that died, 99%, over 99%,
Right.
had four or more pre-existing conditions that related to that. And another thing that's crazy is look at these countries, look at even our country, a hospital will get paid almost 3 times as much. So if a regular person dies from like an associated cause, it could be anywhere between 10 and 14,000. But when it comes down to someone dying from the COVID, they get anywhere between $25,000 and $32,000 per person they claim as, as related to the coronavirus. Now think about this. If I'm a business owner and I own a private hospital, I'm always going to make a business move. And if you don't, it doesn't make sense. We live in a capitalistic country. So now we look at the miscued numbers of coronavirus and we can really dissect it and understand that it's just it is like literally taking a number and making it up and saying, this is the number that happened to the people. If you really give it thought, it's such a simple formula to understand that it's impossible to really understand if anyone died of coronavirus, if anyone really truly had it, because we don't have any true testing. So it's almost like, what did we do to our country? I understand that we took this preemptive, motives by shutting it down. Like, look at New York State, look at your state, look at California. They're still shut down.
Unprecedented.
Unprecedented. House arrest. You know what?
Yeah.
Well, one thing I will say, guys, I was literally offended today because I've been to restaurants here in Florida where you don't have to wear a mask. You come in, you could dine in. As long as the capacity is fine, no one cares. Especially in the area I live in Dunedin, Clearwater. People don't even think, like, literally when you're out there, it's a different world. We don't even know that coronavirus even happened, the way we live our life out here. But once I go into like other cities or away from where I live, I went to a go get lunch today and I'm like, oh, Pollo Tropical, let me come in. I literally was shouted out by the manager, like, you can't be in here without a mask. How dare you? And no, you can't eat in here. It's only takeout and this. And it's just this huge confusion. And it's creating this negative, disgusting energy within us. Like, why are we yelling at each other? Like, why are we talking down to each other? We're all human beings. And just to be able to, like, I want to spend my money on a product and I want to have a smile on my face when I do it. And I want the person behind there to have a smile, but to be shouted out. I mean, if this is going to be our way of life going into the future, I mean, like, this is destroying humanity. Seriously. We have to have a negative feeling every time I encounter somebody. Are we kidding? Are you joking?
Yeah, well, you've been living in a protected enclave over there in Dunedin. Here in Illinois, you cannot walk into any store of any kind without a mask.
That's crazy.
They have signs on the door: "Do not enter without a mask." And restaurants. I think yesterday it was. They finally opened up. Restaurants can serve people outside, but there's no dining in a restaurant in Illinois.
That is great. Where I live, I kid you not, like, I went out to the bar and literally, like, I mean, you're literally like at the bar like nothing ever happened where I live. As soon as you get outside the area is when it kind of starts getting crazy. It's when you get into the more populated areas like real Clearwater or Tampa, St. Pete. Yeah. But when you're
I think we made the point. Do you really want to take the rest of the program talking about the
You're right. Let's get back to what we were talking about before. Sorry. It was just I'm passionate about us human beings and making sure the energy is always good.
Yeah, it's true. Let's bring it a little bit back to what we were talking about.
Absolutely.
So the number one cause of chiropractic problems is emotional stress and threat. emotional stress and threat. So, which puts us into the primitive brain, and our immediate response is survival.
Yep.
So people are reacting to everyday stresses, financially, interrelationships, uh, time pressures, business pressures, as if they're life threatening, and they're not. I mean, they're not life threatening. It's not like you're being chased down by a tiger or a lion, um, or you're in the middle of the street about to be hit by a car. Um, uh, they're not life threatening. Most of them are not life threatening, but we're reacting to them like they are. So the nervous system is going into, there's two functions of the nervous system. One is parasympathetic and the other is sympathetic. Parasympathetic is everyday functioning. So it's rest, recuperation, healing, cellular replacement, um, uh, uh, rest and recuperation, digestion, um, you know, the everyday maintenance and of the body and healing and returning to normal. We're designed to be in parasympathetic um, 80 to 85% of the time.
Wow.
And sympathetic is emergency. It's survival. It's saving your life from something, or it's chasing down food, or it's competing with someone. Uh, so we're meant to be in sympathetic um, 15 to 20% of the time. And so it's emergency. When you go into sympathetic, parasympathetic shuts down. Um, so we're in a life-threatening situation. So the body diverts all its energy to uh, either fighting or fleeing or um, uh, yeah, chasing food down or escaping from being food. Uh, so that's what sympathetic is for.
Gotcha.
Sympathetic is for intense work, an unusually intense work period. It's for competitive games or sports. Um, and then rest and recuperation, parasympathetic. Do you get what I'm saying?
Oh, I totally understand. Like 100,000%. Everything you're saying and thrown at me. If you want me to sum it up, it's we act 85% on our parasympathetic system, and the only time our 10 to 15% of our sympathetic system kick in is when it's our fight or flight response comes into effect, or when we're threatened. And right now is at a time period, as you're stating, is where maybe we're starting to tap more into our sympathetic system without us even really realizing it, and not living our life in the parasympathetic system.
Yeah. So it's supposed to be 85% parasympathetic, 15 to 20% sympathetic.
Makes sense.
We've reversed it.
Do you think that's been intentional, or do you think that?
No. We have progressively created a less and less natural environment and lifestyle.
Yeah.
Over the years, to me, I always look at the big picture in something, and it's no coincidence that modern chiropractic was discovered in 1895, right at the greatest change from a natural agrarian rural type lifestyle to a highly urbanized, industrialized lifestyle. Um, to me, chiropractic was discovered uh, universally to mitigate all the unnatural demands being placed on us that humanity has not had a chance to adapt to evolutionarily. Yes. Um, so two things have to happen ultimately. One is we have to modify and correct the unnatural demands that we placed on humanity. And honey, and that's number one. And number two, we have to evolve, and that's going to take a couple of centuries um, to evolve. Because prior to about 1870, I figured people lived and died within 50 years, wore clothes made out of the same materials from birth till death, ate food that was procured the same way naturally from birth till death, uh, without certainly without genetic modification, but even without hybriding. Um, Natural, what we now call heirloom foods, and uh, and they did the same type of work from birth until death. And not only that, it was the same as their parents and the same as their grandparents. And you know what I mean?
Oh,
We
yeah.
evolved slowly, and changes took place over centuries. And now, since I figured 1870, there's been more changes each and every decade than all of history prior.
I agree with you 1,000,000,000%. And right now we're going through the biggest awakening in human history. People are starting to wake up. People are
Well,
starting to. What's that?
it's about time.
I know. It is about time. I'm seeing change in people I never thought I'd see change in. They're starting to wake up and realize, holy shit, this isn't what I was told it was. And now they're starting to question it. For the first time ever, people are
That's what we need to do. This extreme measure as a result. I mean, the COVID-19 was an exercise in controlling humanity. The things that that were foreign to you that are occurring all around the world to some degree, people have been regimented, coerced, ridiculed into conforming.
Oh.
That for something that is nowhere near as serious as they claim it is.
Oh, I know.
And
I know.
And what kind of stress is that throwing on people? Suicides have gone way up, and this is so tragic. If it wasn't so tragic, it would be downright funny. They're actually claiming that suicides, if you have COVID-19, that the cause of death was COVID-19.
I know. You know what's crazy? There's more people dying indirectly from COVID-19 than there are people actually dying from COVID-19. Oh,
Well,
that's
you mean,
so reported.
yeah, from the fallout of what's being done.
Absolutely,
What-
absolute. You know, people get lost in their work, Papa Marv. People only know their job because they become calloused and they become habitual, and they think that that's what they
Well,
have to do. And it's
and what makes everything worse is that Facebook and Google and YouTube are becoming uh, partners in controlling.
I know they censoring everything. I don't know if any of you guys know who Brian Rose is. He has his own podcast, live stream show on London Real. He has some of the best people in the world, such as Bruce Limpton, Dr. Joe Dispenza, David Goggins. I can keep naming David Icke. I can keep naming the list. And for the first time ever he's been doing it for now 9 years. They deplatformed him. He can no longer be on YouTube and do his live shows. He actually had to raise millions of dollars to start his own website live streaming so people can look at his content without having to feel like it's going to be censored. It's actually unbelievable. I'm not sure if anyone's following that, but a lot of the most intelligent people in the world are being shut down for you not to listen to, and you're being pounded and bombarded by the 5 corporations that own this United States news reel. So, I challenge you to open up your mind and challenge you, like my Papa Marv, you listen to this guy. I mean, so far we've been talking for about 50 minutes and my mind is just blown with the information that he's given me. And now I can use this information and understand my body a little bit more, understand like, okay, my body is not responding correctly. There has to be something done. And look at this man. This is the type of work that he does. He fixes that. He is aware of those problems and he repairs it. And, Papa Marv, with this COVID-19, do you have patients telling you, the energy that they may be feeling, or they feel out of whack, or do you know of anybody?
So, I as we didn't come right out and say it, but if you do the math, I'm in my 55th year of 5-day-a-week practice.
Oh my goodness!
In my 55th year,
that is amazing.
Soon to start my 56th year.
You love your work.
Of 5-day-a-week practice, and I've been teaching for 25 years, and what I've been teaching is only work that I originally synthesized from the best of the best. And in the past 20 years and more, work that I myself have discovered that never existed in chiropractic before.
That's incredible.
So I've been teaching for 25 years, and in the beginning it was like pulling teeth to get people to accept the work. They would like it, but very few would incorporate it. And now, in the past 5 years, I've made inroads that I struggled to make before with people your age. So I've been teaching chiropractors now. The millennial chiropractors are the hope for the future. Millennial chiropractors are the hope for the future. And they incorporate the work. They want to learn it. And they have the right mindset there. It's inspirational, and you are inspirational to me that you have exposed yourself to so much and have learned so much in your short 28 years. So you're one of my 10 grandchildren. So you're one of 10, and and I love and impressed by most of my grandchildren. And yes, and
Well, thank you for that. I really appreciate that. The whole reason for this show, the whole reason for what I'm doing is it's not even work for me. I spent all day prepping this show, all day by myself. And I enjoyed every second of doing it because I want to get as much of this information out to everybody out there as possible, because all this information is to help transform the way you think. It's not to harm you. It's not to make you feel less than. It's only to open up your mind into a more beautiful world. And, it came out of nowhere. I don't know where the idea came. I really don't. It was like a joke. And then one day I just got all this furniture and I ordered all this stuff and I did it. And it's been, now I'm on episode 5.
You do. Where does truth come from?
From within.
Truth comes from spirit.
Yes.
Truth comes from spirit. Each of us has a validating, verifying point of consciousness within ourselves. If we just, we've all felt it. Have you ever heard something you never heard before and said, wow, that makes sense. That you had the sense that it was true. That's the validating point within you, the validating point of consciousness within you. Everyone has it. If they just depend on it, we're being fed information. Does this really make sense? Does this sound right? Just because the mass news media is now saying this is it, and we've allowed the WHO, which is not even a government agency, which is not overseen by anybody.
I know.
One of the few good things Trump has done is withdraw financial support from the U.S. To the WHO. The WHO is a private organization, self-appointed, no oversight whatsoever.
I know.
And how do they get to dictate to the world and the rest of the world just listens to this would-be dictator, Fauci, who's been proven wrong several times in his career.
Oh, I know. There's so many people like you that have discredited him. I mean, people who have had 40, 50 years in the same field as him and are so perplexed and can't even understand the words that come out of his mouth. And there's doctors like Dr. Rashad Buttar. I'm not sure if anyone know who that man is. Go look him up after this show. He specializes in everything that Dr. Fauci specializes, and it's his life mission. It came out of nowhere. He never really started talking until this happened because he is so outraged by the lies and by the deceit of the truth of this whole pandemic. You got to go give this man a listen. It's people like my Papa Marv who have this knowledge that will give you it word by word, line by line, and then all of a sudden you're doing the math in your head and you're like, holy shit, they're right. So, and just know that you can't get this information on your regular news channels. This is something that you yourself got to look up, and they're out there. And I'm happy you, Papa Marv, that you were able to shed this on that show. It's really key information.
But please understand that I'm not promoting conspiracy theory.
No, not at all. There is no conspiracy theory. Has a negative connotation that is purposely put into place to create a false feeling, a false perception from it. All conspiracy theory is the other 20%. So as long as 80% of people in a group of people agree on something, that's what the truth, that's quote unquote, that's what the truth is. But the real reality of is the other 20% are known as conspiracy theorists. But in reality, it's just a different way of thinking, and you should be open to all forms of thinking. None of what we're sharing today has nothing to do with conspiracy theory. It just has to do with the information that's out there. That's all it is. And you take it for what it is. And you as a human being know the truth, and you know what's bullshit. And some people like to eat bullshit, but you know what the truth is.
Well, you can't just accept everything that's told to you. Everything in the news today is not true. Everything you have to be a critical thinker, and you have to investigate beyond. Especially, I mean, how many people think that this is right? Alarms went off real quick. If what, Sweden, never instigated social distancing, masks, or shut-in. The country, Sweden.
Yes.
And they had a spike in the beginning, but as time goes on, their statistics are better and better and better than other countries.
Yeah, Florida's the role model for the entire world.
I don't know what you mean by that, but
what they're doing here in Florida and how they are approaching the whole thing as it's been, excuse me, the best course of action. You
mean most of Florida?
Most of Florida, yeah. Their whole thing here in Florida is if you go past a nursing home, it's like a lockdown. You know what I mean? Like I actually have my girlfriend's niece works in a nursing home, and she's told me every time she goes in, they got this. They make sure they take extreme protocols with all the elderly people, and especially in Florida, retirement state, you have a majority of the older population down here, and it goes to show you, the way that we've handled it. Well, it goes a lot to our government here in the state of Florida. We've been handling it correctly. It's really nice I can actually go to a store and buy something, without a mask about 95% of the time. So it's not too bad like places like where you live, Papa Marv, or people in New York, those poor people, and, in California, in our country. So it's like a different effect that I have than you guys, a different perspective. But, Papa Marv, what I want to get into, besides the COVID-19 is we talked about the nervous system and how important it is. We talked about how its relation to life is everything, the parasympathetic system and the sympathetic system. What I want to get to is obviously this COVID-19 has affected majority people, and now it's going to translate into your practice. Now, you also spoke about the younger generation, like the millennial generation, people like me who are getting into chiropractic. Who is this guy that you were telling me about the other day he's like the new form of chiropractic teaching? I believe you were on one of his shows.
I mentioned that your inventiveness, the way you've gone out to learn things, incorporated and put things into effect, and the way you're moving in life reminded me of this young chiropractor, relatively. He's 34 years old, who implemented, innovated a lot of things as a student, and he's been a great influence. Of all the people that have taken my work in 25 years, he's the fastest learner, but he he's into so many things. I just said he reminded me of you. But he started an organization that is growing because of his leadership and inventiveness. And his leadership is not one of sitting back and telling people what to do. It's one of showing people.
Absolutely.
He shows people what to do. So the organization he started is called Kairos Training Culture. And the word Kairos doesn't come from chiropractic. It comes from the Greek, meaning the perfect moment.
God's time, baby. Kairos, Kairos.
So Kairos is spelled Kairos.
That's what I said. I went to school and we actually went on a Kairos retreat for a week. So Kairos is a big important thing in my life.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. Kairos means everything. I actually have a Jerusalem cross for my Kairos retreat. It's made out of brass. I still have it to this day. That's one of my biggest breakthroughs.
Well, you and anyone like you would enjoy following Dr. Brett Jones, DC.
Dr. Brett Jones. Is that with 2 T's or 1 T?
2 T's. Brett Jones with a DC, because believe it or not, there's lots of Jones.
Yes, there are.
And a few Brett Jones.
Yeah.
So, but there's only one Kairos training culture that I know of. And it's a chiropractic organization, but Brett has he has a public side and a chiropractic side, and he is getting into he is expanding into offering value to the public as well as just chiropractors.
I love that.
And but he is the biggest example, but he's not the only example of millennials in chiropractic, and his followers are not the only examples. Yes. So
my question to you, Papa Marv, how does someone get educated in the type of work that you do? Besides going to your website, besides listening to you, what could somebody take from your work and maybe not say simplify it, but make somebody be able to understand it like an everyday person? Where could they get that information at their disposal? Because I'm going to be honest with you, I have studied so much education. I educate myself 3 hours a day minimum. I've never heard any of this stuff. I've heard, a lot to do with thought, manifestation, your brain. But we never talk about, what you're talking about. Where can someone get this information from?
Well, the answer is I don't know.
What, are they hiding it from all of us? They don't want us to know? Do I need to write a book from you so the world could have something?
Well, I've intermixed basic science. You can get it from any neurophysiology book.
Neurophysiology, okay.
Neurophysiology. That's the function of the nervous system. The function of the nervous system is neurophysiology. Neuroanatomy is the parts. The parts. Anatomy is parts. Physiology is function. any neurophysiology book of any kind has all this basic information about the nervous system. What's incredible is every medical doctor learns this and then forgets it. Now, they learn this, but they don't apply it.
I know. That goes for about 90% of people that graduate from college. They learn it, but they never apply it ever.
Yes. So the things I've discussed about the nervous system are in every neurophysiology book. But I'm applying it beyond just the function. It's the application, and which brings me to tonal chiropractic, and what makes tonal chiropractic different. It's a bigger model. So older models of chiropractic, which I now call mechanistic, talk about local problems in the spine. So the chiropractic problem, the unique chiropractic problem, the term applied was subluxation, and which means a bone slightly out of place or stuck, interfering with the nervous system locally. And mechanistic chiropractic has based analysis on bone structure and bone alignment. And so tonal chiropractic is a larger recognition of the brain and spinal cord as it functions within the bony structure. So the brain and spinal cord is made out of the finest physical material there is. It's so fine, it's totally incapable of supporting itself.
Wow.
So the brain and spinal cord is literally suspended within its coverings. So the coverings of the brain and spinal cord are called the meningeal system. That's a multi-layered covering where the brain and spinal cord is suspended within the meningeal system, and the meningeal system, the coverings, are suspended within the bony structure.
That's crazy.
So we recognize that the fine material of the nervous system is not by accident, but the position of the spine and the range of motion of the spine affects the tension and tone of the brain and spinal cord.
Wow.
So you talked about frequency. Yes. Frequency is produced by the brain and spinal cord. In truth, everything in the physical universe is in vibration.
Yes.
Everything in the physical universe. So there is a normal range of frequencies of the brain and spinal cord.
Yeah.
So those frequencies are maintained by free and complete movement. Free and complete movement. So our physical bodies are designed for constant or frequent movement or non-weight-bearing rest.
Interesting.
That's what, yeah. So that's what our body's designed for, movement or rest. It was never designed to be kept in one position, seated at a computer or a desk over a large period of time with decreased movement. Everything in the human body is dependent on movement.
Absolutely.
Yes. So chiropractic problems, the tonal understanding. See, the tonal understanding is that the whole thing is a system, the brain and spinal cord, and the whole system is either affected or it's not. And rather than being separate, isolated problems, there are different problem focal points that can and do change. And rather than the chiropractor being the fixer, that the advanced application of tonal chiropractic recognizes that the body is designed to correct itself. And before there were chiropractors, that's what happens. And even today, most of the time, the body corrects the large majority of chiropractic problems, resetting the circuit breakers, so to speak.
That's amazing.
And so we're dealing with the overwhelming ones that are caused dropping layer upon layer of trapped patterns.
Yeah.
Patterns response in the nervous system, faulty software in the nervous system. So people are reacting to what's going around them, to reality, through layers and layers of stuck patterns.
Wow.
So what do all chronic ailments have in common?
I'm not sure.
They're stuck in a pattern. They're stuck in a predictable or repeating pattern. And that's what gives the same set of symptoms that go on and on and on, or return again and again.
You know, it's the same thing for, I'm not sure if, like, you know, you've ever heard of like trigger points, like they're muscles that go back into like a knot because they go back into a pattern that they once knew. They create a memory from a muscle slipping out of place, and you get these knots in your shoulder. Same kind of concept.
Yeah, well, that's an effect. And, but it all goes back to the nervous system.
Yes.
So it's been discovered that other tissues in the body besides what we usually call nerves carry impulses or carry messages too. The fascia, the bones, even the muscles. And but the point is to understand that the nervous system is not limited to our previous limited concept. It's that portion of the body, the physical body, that deals with conveying information. But the central processing unit remains the brain and spinal cord. So carrying information where? To and from the central nervous system, to and from the brain and spinal cord.
Wow.
So the tonal chiropractor is one who learns how to read the body better and how to facilitate the body to do more.
Now, I got a question. Now, would you say you have a natural gift maybe for feeling out energy? Do you think you got a natural gift where someone walks in, your patient, a previous patient, or a new patient, are you able to determine what type of element that they may be suffering from, just maybe from their presence? Do you have a gift, or is it come from the knowledge that you've learned?
It comes from knowledge and experience.
Knowledge and experience.
Yes. With experience being the primary, because experience is what you see consistently, mm-hmm. and what you perceive, what you experience from what you do, and how you interpret the knowledge, how you use the knowledge, and what you see from using it.
That really is like, it's almost like poetic what you're talking about. Walk me through. I'm a new patient. I know nothing about your, what you do. I've been feeling like, out of whack. What would you recommend somebody who needs this type of, healing? What would you recommend to them? What would be the walkthrough of sessions, or what would be a session be like?
Um, well, realizing that we're limited in time, we're even though we're running over an hour, there's a limit to how much you can cover in a short time.
Yeah, no,
You
you're
know,
absolutely right.
even my seminars, which I expanded from 12 hours to 20 hours.
Wow. Holy crap. 20 hours?
Yeah, I do a 20-hour seminar.
That is
Oh,
badass, Papa Marv. That is badass.
over a 3-day period.
Yeah, still, that is badass. It's you talking and giving out knowledge. So we're going to have many parts to this conversation. It's going to be Papa Marv part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Well, I'm not creating chiropractors here. I am doing my part to help create true chiropractors with the millennial doctors, and that's where I got my name. Yeah, I've been dubbed the godfather of tonal chiropractic by the millennial chiropractors, and Papa Marv.
I love that. You worked for that. That's awesome. That's incredible.
Yes, and I like it. And it all stemmed from the Papa Marv stemmed from a seminar I did 4 years ago in San Diego, where your Aunt Jerry attended. So your Aunt Jerry and your Uncle Ken have attended multiple seminars of mine.
Wow.
Out of interest, my kids out of interest. So your Aunt Jerry was at the San Diego seminar. She lives in San Diego.
Oh, I know she does. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, everybody else doesn't know.
That's
So
right.
at this particular San Diego seminar, there was a young chiropractor who reminded me of your cousin Zachary, Jerry's son.
No kidding.
Zachary. And so I said in the middle of the seminar, I said, Jerry, does he remind you of Zachary? He reminds me of Zachary, my grandson Zachary. So then this grandson started calling me this guy who reminded me of Zachary started calling me Grandpa. And then at a break, Jerry told him, nobody calls him Grandpa. They call him Papa Marv. And so then he started calling me Papa Marv. And then everybody started calling me Papa Marv at that seminar.
I mean, it's the most Jewish name you could ever have, Papa Marv. I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it, Papa Marv.
It's not Jewish. It's what now? All my grandkids called me Papa Marv.
I've been calling you Papa Marv since I was a kid. Since I can remember. I've always called you Papa Marv. I've never called you Grandpa in my entire life.
Right.
And you know what I love most about our show is your big Jewish smile in the left corner of the cam. It's the best. Your smile has so much life to it. And next time when I have you on the show, I'm definitely 1,000,000% going to actually have a video. So, it's going to be a lot better. It's just really difficult sometimes doing it all by yourself and learning on the way. But I think today's show was very informative. I believe you got a message out there that was incredible. I've learned so much. It's not even funny. And I thank you so much for it. And like you said before the show, we're going to definitely have to have more parts. I mean, you have so much knowledge to give this world.
Well, I love supporting what you're doing, and if you like this and you get feedback, and other people want more, carrying this further, because there are two things that have motivated me in my life, and I've continued to evolve into. One is chiropractic and carrying the field of chiropractic further than ever before. And I don't consider this the end. I consider it just where we're at right now. And I expect it, as I tell people who take my work, chiropractors who take my work, I expect you guys to carry this further than I can possibly carry. In the remaining years of my life, the majority of my life is over. I'm not in no hurry to leave, but passing on. I don't like the word death. Passing on is part of life. We're not meant to live in these fragile bodies, even these self-healing bodies, all that very long. Even 100 years actually is not that long within the scheme of things. The second thing that's motivated me through my life is the meaning of life. So I've been searching since I was 18. And since 1960, and evolving my awareness.
I love that.
So those are the two things that have motivated me, and I've married them together. And chiropractic, like I tell the young chiropractors, chiropractic is one of the best vehicles for living the purpose of life. It's not the only vehicle, but it's one of the best.
That's absolutely beautiful.
And I'm allowed to experience the purpose of life through the work I do, and why we're here. So we can touch on that on another program.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we'll wrap it up for tonight's episode. We beautifully hit a beautiful hour and a half of beautiful content. I will say, for all the viewers that did come in and watch this live, thank you so much. It means the absolute world to me. I
would like feedback on how people related to this program, my contribution to your program.
Absolutely. And for everyone that's listening, this video is going to be on Facebook. I am going to upload it to YouTube. Please put in the comments any questions, any feedback that you had in tonight's episode. If you want to learn more from my Papa Marv, always send me a message. We be able to make something happen as far as getting you some more information from this man. And definitely, like as he wants feedback, I want feedback. This was the best show yet. It was a first time I had a guest on here, a first time I've learned information I've never even been brought to. And it was all thanks to this wonderful, beautiful man here. I love you, Papa Marv. Thank you guys for all chiming in. And is there one last thing you have to say, Papa Marv?
I'll be back if you want me back.
Well, I love you and you will be back. We'll have many parts. Everyone, thank you for watching the show tonight, and God bless all of you.
Bye-bye.
Did you like that, Papa Marv?
Yeah.
That was amazing. That was literally like, I could not ask for a better show than that. That was beautiful. Thank you so much for giving, like, seriously, like, I mean, thank you for that information to this world. What you had to say was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. So we're off the air or off the
Yeah,
pod?
we're officially off there. We had 111 live views. 111. That's crazy, Papa Marv. The most live views I had was like 50. We had 111.
Well, wonderful.
We had 111, baby. Let's go.
All right. Well, I love contributing to something worthwhile, and